Good morning and welcome to Business Bites Online. My name is Sal DiVincenzo and I am one of the librarians at the Miller Business Center. And thank you for joining us today for another hopefully informative program in about an hour or less. We like to do bites, little tastes of some of the resources that we have here at the center. And this morning, we're going to talk specifically about two resources that we feel would be very beneficial to you if you were starting a business or doing a business plan, or perhaps you're marketing your business and you want to strategize a plan on your advertising. You want to see who your potential customers are, where they are, what their purchasing habits are. So this morning we're going to talk about demographics and statistics. And we are ridiculous information and statistic geeks here at the Miller Center. In the background here is Elizabeth Malafi. She's the coordinator of the center. She's going to be monitoring our chat this morning. And she's a huge, gigantic fan of Statista, which is one of the resources that we're going to be talking about. In fact, it was her idea to do a program like this. And we're also going to talk about Demographics Now, which is a database that we've been using here at the center for a very long time, and it is very informative. What you're going to see here on the screen is the homepage of Demographics Now. And again, what's great about this database is it's going to allow you to get as much information as possible on people, on businesses, on what people are spending their money on, and what kind of growth you can expect as far as population, as far as household income, in a specific geography. Now, the first page here, when you come in, there are different sections here that we do highly recommend you check out. And what's great is that if you are a Miller Business member, you are going to be able to access this database from anywhere, from offsite. And there are many different facets to demographics now. This morning, we're just going to focus on demographics, the demographics section. But we highly recommend when the program is over, or after you've watched this on YouTube, to go into the database if you have a membership and play around with it. This database for me I like to call this, I know it's kind of silly, but I like to call this my Sunday morning database, because it's a database that I like going to just to check out what's going on, because it's just very interesting information. It's interesting to find out about your region, your state, your zip code, what people are doing, what they're purchasing, what their habits are, what the population's doing. So it really is an interesting database, and hopefully today you're going to be able to see some of the great features that you'll be able to use that are helpful for you. So let's jump right in. I'm going to click on demographics here, and you can see the first thing that we see is a select report type. There are three different reports that you can run in demographics now. The two more popular reports that we use here at the center is the comparison report. That's if you want to compare multiple zip codes, multiple geographies, multiple states, multiple counties. Or you can just get a summary if you're just looking for one report on one geography. In this case, for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll do some comparison reports today. And as far as the reports that are available, using this down arrow, you're going to see there is a ton of information here. You can get everything from business comparisons. I mentioned, again, consumer expenditures, demographics, of course, household information, household income, retail demand. There's the Mosaic reports, and we'll show you what Mosaics look like in a moment. retail supply comparison. And then there's all these Simmons reports. And what Simmons is a survey company. I guess it's, if you've heard of Nielsen, like the Nielsen ratings, it's along those lines. They gather data, they do surveys, the telephone surveys, sometimes you'll get, at dinner time, unfortunately, when you get those telemarketers calling you, they say, oh, can we ask you some questions about, travel or whatnot? That information is here. Additionally, all the census information is here as well. I mean, the majority of this data that's on demographics now is coming from the U.S. Census and the American Community Census. The U.S. Census, we are in a census year right now, is every 10 years. That's basically the questionnaire that you get. How many people in your household, who's living in your household, what languages are spoken, all that kind of stuff. That's the basic census information. Very, very important. Please, if you haven't filled out your census yet, please do so as soon as possible. I think the deadline's coming up. The other data part of the census is the American Community Survey. That's this right here that you're seeing, the US ACS. And the American Community Survey is a much more thorough surveying of particular parts of the population, and they're going to use that for averages. So they're not asking everybody the questions in the American Community Survey. They're just randomly picking people in different zip codes and different locations, and then they're using the averages on that to build their data set. So I don't know if you've ever had a American Community Survey sent to you. I actually, interestingly enough, a funny story is that after I started working here at the Miller Center, I had never received one before, but after I started working here at the Miller Center and I started using that data, coincidentally, like a year later, I received an American Community Survey in the mail, and it's a Scantron. And you fill out all these questions about, your purchasing habits and, things that you're interested in. And it just was a very good experience for me to see it on the other end. So you're going to see that data in here as well. Let's look at how we are going to access the geographies. So let's get a lay of the land here. So again, we clicked on demographics. In the upper right-hand corner here, you're going to see your geo filter. You could, if you want, just enter an address, a zip code, a county or state here. I personally don't like doing that because, for example, there are 2 Suffolk counties, there's, 2 Nassau counties, all that kind of stuff. And I also like clicking through to see what is available in the database in the geo filter. So I use this drop down here, and I suggest you do. It's called options, and then click on geography list. And this is all the geographical places that we can search on and how they're categorized out. So you can do census tracts, you can do block groups, you can do demographic market areas, which is DMAs. Like for example, the New York metropolitan area is not just New York. It includes part of North Jersey. It might even include a little bit of southwestern Connecticut, Suffolk, Nassau, Queens, Kings, all that kind of stuff. That's the metro areas, and the demographic metro areas, they're all in here as well. They even go so far as to getting like those micro census block sections. So there is a lot of great ways that you can search for your demographics.
Al, I said this in the chat, but
yes.
One thing I love about this, one of the things I love about these geography choices is that you can pick towns. So town of Brookhaven, town of Islip,
exactly,
town of Riverhead, which is not possible to do in a lot of our other databases.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that, Elizabeth. And those are here. And you know what? That's a great segue, Elizabeth. Let's search on some towns. Those are here under they're called minor civil divisions in the database, or census civil divisions, I believe is that term. So MCDs or CCDs or MCDs by county. So we select that, and we're going to see the process now. So this is the selection. This is where I can select my data, and this is where it's going to show up what I'm searching on. So we'll go down to New York, and we'll pick Suffolk. And now these are the towns. They even have the Native American divisions here as well. So the Shinnecock Nation is here as well. So let's pick up Brookhaven, which is our hometown here at the library at the Miller Center. And we'll pick the town of Riverhead, and we'll pick the town of Huntington. All right, so we have 3 distinct towns that we've selected here. When we do this in the minor civil division selection, it's going to select every single zip code in each of these towns. Again, really comes in very, very handy. You don't have to, like, if you're searching for, you know, all the cities in the town of Brookhaven, you don't have to type in each individual zip code. So it really, and like Elizabeth said, this is very unique to reference to Demographics Now. It's not in Reference USA. It's not in those other databases. So again, we're going to want to make sure that we select comparison here, and we're going to want to make sure that our geofilter is correct. All right, so let's see some demographics. So why don't we start first with let's look at a complete demographic comparison report. I select it, I hit run, and it's compiling the data now. And here we go. We have the 3 minor civil divisions, the 3 towns. We have their some information here that we're going to go through. This report that you're seeing on the screen, you can view it on the screen if you want. You can also download it in various ways, and I'll give you those choices in a moment. But I want to show you what's here. Now, let me mention that what you are seeing here in many cases are estimates based on the most recent American Community Survey, or the most recent census, or whatever, or the U.S. Census's business census. So this data, as of right now, is from last year, specifically the 4th quarter. Okay, so you see we're about 3 quarters behind, but that's great. I mean, this is great data here. So you can see the number of employees and business establishments in Brookhaven, Huntington, and Riverhead. You could see gender population. You can see the employed civilian population. These are folks over 16, so folks that are that can legally are of age to work. So they have their working their working permit, their working papers. Seasonal population. So you can see if the population differences here between the different quarters. You can see the ages, how many housing units, the race and ethnicity. It even breaks it down in certain cases. You can see marital status, educational attainment, household income. So you can see what percentages are in the income. And again, we can go deeper into the income in the moment. They even have these, the poverty status, if they're below or above the poverty line, based on what the government says is the poverty line. And you can see that based on race. And so we see all that great information. Again, basic demographic information. And then on top of that, we see a projection. And in this case, it's from 2019. It's going to be the 5-year projection. So that's 2024. You'll see the same thing here. All those items that we just saw, you're going to see the 5-year projection. And you're also going to see, what's nice here is the change percentages for housing units, race and ethnicity, as well as age and population. So if you look here, as far as the population trends for these minor civil divisions, these towns on Long Island, it's pretty flat, believe it or not. It looks pretty flat. It looks like the only town that's seeing a very, very small increase here is Huntington. Now you'll notice it's a little messy when I'm looking at it on the screen. It would be great if this top bar would not move when I'm scrolling through here. That's why I highly recommend that you download these lists. And you can do that. It's very simple. You just click on this download button and take a look at these wonderful choices that we have for you here. So you can download this as a PDF, which means it's just going to be a simple report. You can't edit it. Or you can download it as a Microsoft Word document. And in that case, you can edit it. So you can pick pieces out if you're doing a report or if you're presenting a business plan to a bank on your, for your business, you can take pieces and copy and paste them in. There is the HTML version here. If you want for some, listen, if you have a blog and you're designing your website and you want to paste this information in, you can download it as the code. The website code is HTML. Or what a lot of folks do is they use the XLSX, the Excel format, to do that as well. And if you have Google Drive or OneDrive and you're just doing research and you want to just dump them into folders, you can do that as well. So downloading it, for example, in Microsoft Excel will allow you to freeze this top bar here, this top row. And then when you're scrolling through the data, the top row will always be there. So when you're halfway down this report, you'll still see Brookhaven, Huntington, Riverhead here. So that's a complete comparison report. Let's look at some other great reports that are here. And again, some of this stuff is really, really interesting. I do like business comparison. If you're looking for business information, specifically if you're looking for how many businesses are in each town or each geography based on what they are, their SIC codes. So for example, you can see there are not that many manufacturers compared to the other two towns. There are not that many manufacturers in Riverhead. There's only just a little over 1,100 here. But it's pretty equal for Brookhaven and Huntington. And but on the opposite end of the spectrum, and I think this is a pretty cool thing that you're seeing here, obviously out in Riverhead, there's a lot more agriculture and farms. You could see it's about double the amount of businesses compared to the other two. Well, that's interesting. I'm just noticing there is a fishing, hunting, trapping. There's 4 businesses in the town of Brookhaven. That's very cool. So you can see here, it breaks it down. And in addition to breaking it down by the basic SIC codes, it'll also break it down within those codes. So if you're looking for manufacturers specifically of leather products in these towns, you can see if that is a business that you are working with, or perhaps you want to start a business in that case. There are 30 of them in the town of Huntington, which is much more than I thought there was going to be. And there are none in Riverhead and only 2 in Brookhaven. And you can basically see here these trends on the screen. So like huge, gigantic differences in printing, publishing, and allied industries, so on and so forth. So let's say you're expanding your business, or let's say your business, you do business with these types of companies. This is where you'll be able to see where exactly they are. And I do want to mention, I'm really not going to show much of this feature today, but there is a mapping feature which will graphically show you on the map of Long Island where all this data is, and it does it in a scale. And if we have some time, I'll show you that. Now, what most folks ask us here at the center for when it comes to demographics is consumer expenditures. So what are my potential customers going to spend in those geographies? So for example, let's say you're thinking of opening a clothing store, either brick or mortar, or maybe you're going to do online. Let's see how much money folks in these locations spend. Now, when you run this report, first thing that you get up front is you're going to get the basic household information. So you get the number of households, the average income, and the median household income right up front. So that's great. Then you're going to get some figures here. Now, these numbers, it's very important to understand this, is the average household expenditure. So on average for the year 2019, folks in the town of Brookhaven spent on average a little over $2,000 on apparel. And it's pretty even, if you could see, across the 3 geographies that we chose, a little less in Riverhead. So this gets broken down now into categories. So for example, and let me tell you, I've done this report for folks before, specifically women's apparel, and you can see here the breakdown. So you could see coats and jackets, dresses, sport coats and jackets, skirts, pants, shorts, so on and so forth, even costumes. Now you're going to see here, wow, this is a weird number. So you're telling me that, $1.48. It's again, it's averages. It doesn't mean that they bought a costume for $1.48. It's just the average compared to everything else. That is the average. The lower the number, the less that, the less likely they're gonna purchase whatever you're selling in that category. So it even breaks it down in girls and boys. So if you're doing children's clothing, it breaks it down in footwear and even accessories. So jewelry, watches will be here as well. So again, we like this data because this tells us what people have spent. And then we like the second part of this report because it's the estimate of what people are expected to spend. In this case, it's 4 years because it's based on the last data set, but it's a 5-year span. So between 2019 and 2024. So by 2024, you're going to see, so let's go up here. Let's go back here to that costumes number. So it was 148 and now it's 155. So based on that information, I'm going to say within 5 years, it's going to be pretty stable. But you might be able to see some differences here that will be very telling to you if you're doing a report or a business plan, or if you're thinking of opening a shop in one of these towns and you want to see where people are spending money. Now we're fairly broad here in our search definition. We are looking at these towns in total. If you're thinking of targeting specific neighborhoods or zip codes, you can get that specific and you can focus in on those as well. So this is one of my favorite reports, the food, beverage, grocery detail. And you're probably, again, you're asking, wait a second, where does this data come from? Are they just guessing? Well, like I said, there's the census information. So that American Community Survey, they take a lot of the averages, kind of figure it out, put it together based on household incomes, based on where people live, how many people are in the house, ages, so on and so forth. They have all these metrics and algorithms that they use. And also, and we've mentioned this before in other programs, a lot of this data is sold by companies that you do business with. And I hate saying that, but it's a fact. It's the truth. So there are going to be opportunities for your credit card company. There are going to be opportunities for any of the supermarkets that you might have, like a shopper card, that you use your shopper card to shop to get, the coupons, digital coupons. We all think of that as a wonderful service that we're being provided to for free. And in many cases, a lot of your credit cards have no annual fee, right? Nothing in life is free, though. So they're taking your data as, I guess, for lack of a term, as ethically as possible, because they're doing it within the privacy, the terms of service and your privacy and whatnot. And they're able to take that data and sell it to companies and to share it to other organizations so they can build these reports. A lot of times it's only a piece of that data, so it's not connected to you personally. Obviously, we're looking at zip codes here, so it might not be your actual household. But when you're dealing with, when you're dealing with a database, which we've shown before, like, the consumer database in Reference Solutions, formerly Reference USA, that data comes from the US Census and is connected buy reference solutions from a credit card company or from another source. So they're doing the legwork of putting that data together. So a lot of this is coming directly from you and directly from your purchase behavior. So this is not just made up data here. This is legit data. I love looking at this because it's so interesting the way they break this down. Like, for example, alcoholic beverages. This is like my go-to whenever I show this database. It's like whiskey. Specifically, whiskey is broken out here. You can see on average in the town of Brookhaven, an average household spends about $24 on whiskey. And then there's wine at home and wine away from home, which means if you purchase a bottle of wine, bring it home and consume it at home, or if you purchase a glass of wine at a restaurant. So this is all mixed into this data as well. And again, I've run this report before for folks who are in the food services industry. They're thinking of starting a business that they're manufacturing a food product. They want to know, okay, I'm thinking of opening up a brick and mortar location, or I'm thinking of targeting a specific, I'm going to do a marketing plan, and I want to create a maybe a postcard, or even go so far nowadays, the affordability of online advertising, or even television advertising on cable. You want to know who you're going to target, what location you're going to target. You can look here. You can see here, how much money is spent on pies and tarts and turnovers and white bread and crackers and whatnot. Now, again, we're looking at this data. We're zoomed back here. We're looking at just these 3 towns. We can get very specific here and zoom in on specific zip codes or neighborhoods and really see the difference there. So here is a real world example. I had a patron come in, this was many years ago, who came into some money and wanted to purchase an existing restaurant. Specifically, it was a pizzeria, and had multiple choices of where they could buy a restaurant, where they could buy this pizzeria. There were 2, in fact, that they were looking at purchasing. Completely different locations on Long Island. I would say probably an hour away from each other, believe it or not. Very different demographics. So what we did was we ran the Demographics Now report for that. I forgot exactly which one it was. There is a pizza report in here, so we can see where food like to purchase pizza. It might have been on the one I just showed you. So we did that. Based on that data, we were able to also mix in the household income, so we could see where there was going to be growth, in people interested in purchasing pizza at home, away, so on and so forth. And also population trends. So we were able to see which of those 2 locations was going to have either an increase or decrease in population. So based on that data and based on that reports, we ran the reports, and the patron was able to make an educated decision on where they were going to purchase that pizzeria. And again, they decided to do it. And that was it. So this came in very handy. And it can come in handy if you're thinking of doing a physical location as well. I wanted to show you the mosaics. So mosaics are these cohorts of demographics that are broken down. And you can see here, this is the comparison. Now, I personally would suggest, if you're going to do this, to look at each one of these mosaics. And I'll click on one of these so you can see it. But this will show you, for example, in the town of Brookhaven, and this is based on estimated information from 2018. And A just means it's the first data set for 2018. And you can see these are the different mosaics, the different demographic cohorts that Demographics Now has come up with, and it's also from Experian, which you've all probably heard of. Experian is the credit system, the credit rating system. So, for example, there are, by count, there are 11,030 households in the town of Brookhaven who are considered quote unquote American royalty. If I click on this, you will see what that exactly means. So that is the affluent, influential, and successful couple and families living in prestigious suburbs. And you get this really great infographic. And again, this is from Experian. You get this great infographic on what this demographic cohort looks like. You know, how many of them own homes, what their income is, how many children there are, what the averages are. And what's nice about these is it'll explain everything for you. You can see there's a whole narrative here of what this type of person is, whether or not they, you know, love technology, whether or not they're into receiving mail or watching TV or using social networking to get their information or their purchase behavior. And you can see in this case, American royalty is mostly, you know, beginning retirement age, single family properties. They have an income of over $250,000 a year, more than 5 people in their household. So that is what type of person is. There's 11,000. Now, if in this case, what we want to look at is what's the most in the town of Brookhaven. So I think from what I could see here, it's probably going to be in the suburban style group, and it's settled in suburbia. There's 211,000 households. Let's see what this is. So settled in suburbia is a upper middle class family living comfortably in the established suburbs. This is pre-retirement, single family. Household income is 125 to 149. And again, you can see in this group, their preference is mostly social and mail. They really don't listen to the radio, so on and so forth. So you can, again, see all this amazing data. And where this comes in handy is that if you have a target audience in your head, like you're like, you know what, I want to target the Golden Year Guardians. Okay, so what are Golden Year Guardians? These are retirees living in old homes, settled residents, and communities. Okay, so you see all this data here, and this is your target audience. So when you do the Mosaic report, you can see in this case that Brookhaven and Riverhead are going to be your target, where your target audience is. It's a very straightforward thing here, because Huntington has about half of what those two other towns has. And then if you really want to break it out, it'll break it out here. And again, it has it in these different sub cohorts, these subgroups. So the mosaics are very interesting. And again, like I said, this is like a Sunday morning database. This is just so interesting to just kind of get in when you have like some extra time and you want to like just browse through it. Even if you're not doing your marketing plan, if you're just a business owner or you're just someone who's interested in this kind of stuff, like I said, we're information geeks here at the center. This is some nice stuff here to take a look at. So this is Demographics Now. I just want to show you one more before I move on to Statista. We have about 20 minutes left here. So the Simmons reports, again, are kind of like Nielsen, kind of like ratings, and they are survey based. So this is less data based on numbers and more data based on behavior, purchase behavior, likes, dislikes, comfortable, how comfortable someone is with something, uncomfortable with this, that, and the other thing. So for example, if I want to pick, and I like this one, the lifestyles, because it's just this random report with some random lifestyles included here. So again, we're doing a comparison between these three civil divisions, Brookhaven, Huntington, and Riverhead. All these reports are going to give you the demographics right up front. So at least you have that as a baseline, and then it's going to have the indexes. So these are indexes. This is not about how much money is spent or averages and whatnot. This is basically an index, if you can imagine, like a bell curve. The higher the number, the more likely the statement, and the more of on the average that the statement was true. So, for example, here I could say in the recycling section, you could say very often people recycle metal beverage containers. You can see Huntington is the highest here. Riverhead is the lowest. So more people in Huntington recycle metal beverage containers than in Riverhead. You get the idea here. And then you'll get these attitude statements. So everything I wear is the highest quality. Function is most important, in the clothes I buy. I make my clothes last a long time. Often I buy clothes I really don't need. So you're looking at all these lifestyle statements. And again, this all comes from surveys. There's a lot of surveys out there. And again, a lot of these surveys have some sort of financial reward at the end. Gift cards, something like that. You might have even gotten an email. And in many cases, you might think it's a scam, but believe it or not, in some cases it's not. It's actually a company. There's like Qualtrics, there's Simmons, there's all these other companies that are gathering information from people, just general information. And information is, I hate to use this cliche term, information is power, and information is very valuable. Which makes us librarians very valuable and powerful. Now, okay, anyway, because we have the information. But anyway, you can see here that those companies go out, they ask all these questions, they sell it to Demographics Now, to Gale Business, and Gale Business sells it to us and to other companies and to marketing companies and advertising companies. And this is how they make their way in the world. And you could see this is very helpful for you if you're trying to build your business. So for example, there's other stuff here. I spend what I have to look younger. I think fast food is all junk. Work at eating well, balanced diet. So there's diet information. There's information about their cars. There's information about food, behavior. People come to me for advice before buying, so on and so forth. You can see a ton of things here. And again, the Simmons is all going to be that index number. So the higher the number, the more likely that person in that geography has answered that question, yes or no. So if you're a travel agent and you're trying to sell, vacations, cruise vacations to Hawaii, you can see here people in Huntington are more interested than people in Brookhaven and Riverhead for cruise vacations in Hawaii. It's very straightforward, easy to understand. The higher the number, the better. Okay. So that in 40 minutes is Demographics Now. Elizabeth, are there any questions before we take a look at Statista? Okay.
Yes, we do have a question. Hold on one sec.
Very good.
Does this DMB give you info on Long Island business and the amount of money they spend on training and development?
I don't know if that is a demographic metric. That is, I haven't seen it, to be frank, in this database. Believe it or not, what you might be more interested in is, and Elizabeth, maybe you know this, Reference Solutions has the company expenditure. I don't think it has training, but it might have something that runs parallel to training. So we can take a look at that. If you like, you can reach out to us, Miller Center at mcplibrary.org with that question, and we will do our research for you to find that. I have not seen it in Demographics Now. There's a lot of. I
took a look at Reference Solutions, and it's really not there.
It's not there either. Yeah.
You can.
What's the closest? Like office management? Yeah.
Administration expenses, benefits expenses. There's really no training there.
Yeah. But you know what? Again, it's not. There's always a roundabout way. You have to figure if a company's, if a company has high expenditures for like administration, payroll, right? Even like the payroll expenditure. Even if they don't spend it now, they might be interested in your service. because they're already investing a certain amount into the benefits and the payroll. And, your sales pitch will probably be, that training is a benefit to to make that employee better. So that's a roundabout way of
Yeah,
doing it.
I agree. I think it's more statistically, how much does a company of this size generally spend on training, or even based on the type of business it is, how
Yeah.
necessary training is.
Yeah. And we'll look now in Statista to see if there is anything about training. It's probably not going to be specific to geography necessarily. We could check that out and see if we find something there. But yeah, like I said, there you might not be able to get, there's a lot of internal information about a company that we do not have access to. We can't tell you if whether or not a company has a 401k. Like, we can't tell you if a company offers a certain type of health insurance to their employees. We can't tell you if they have like a healthy, like a healthy life program in place, or, necessarily if they do, on-site training or whatnot. But sometimes there's roundabout ways of, maybe finding companies that would be interested in what you do. So, you might not be able to get exactly what you want, but you might come close. So it's always good to ask us. Again, Miller Center at mcplibrary.org. You can email us, or, or give us a call, 631-585-9393, extension 133, and we can help. Let's see. This is Statista that we're looking at right now. It is also one of our favorites, definitely Elizabeth's favorite, right? She loves this database. Now, this database, just to give you a heads up, this database is accessible to you off-site up to a point. So you can go to statista.com, search for a report. You might be able to find it. A lot of reports are available for free, especially like timely reports, like definitely a lot of their reports about the coronavirus and COVID and the economy. They tend to make those free to view. Anything else, though, that you might see, it comes up and says this requires an account. Well, the library has that account, and you can most certainly come down to the library to access this database and download that. Or if it's just something really simple and straightforward and like one report, you can just email us or call us, and we'll be happy to run something. If it's quick, we can run something for you and just email it back to you so you have it. So I'm just seeing here in Statista, there is a dossier for the training industry in the US, which is pretty cool. But let's take a look at an infographic. This is hours of training per employee by company size in the United States between 2017 and 2019. You can see here, it's this beautiful graph that you can download as either a PDF or even a spreadsheet, which is great because when you download it as a spreadsheet, then you can manipulate the data points because it'll download in that respect, or as an image, or even you can download it as a PowerPoint slide, which I've done before for my presentations, and just dump it in there. So again, Statista is great for marketing plans. Statista is great for finding out demographic information and statistics. Statista is great if you are doing a presentation to either a client or a bank or a customer, and you want to kind of drive home your core message, that this is what your company is and this is what you provide, and the reason why you should go with your company is because of this. Because look, take a look at this, small companies, between 100 and 1,000 employees, in 2018 spent 61.2 hours of training per employee. Now it's interesting here, we're seeing a little bit of a drop between 18 and 19. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that most likely we're going to see an increase between 19 and 20, because I think a lot of companies, I know we did here at the library, a lot of companies took advantage of this whole COVID lockdown thing to really bump up the training in a lot of respects. Since a lot of us were working from home, that training was easy to facilitate it, via virtually. So you're probably going to see an increase in that there. But you could see spending in the workplace training industry. So let's see. We'll click on this one. So this is in billions of dollars, spending in billions of dollars. So in 2019 is $169.4 billion were spent on workplace training. And you could see from in the last 10 years, there's been a nice steady increase there. Each of these reports will give you like it'll tell you who did the research, which is pretty interesting. It'll also give you a quick little narrative, so you know exactly what you're looking at. And also you'll get statistics that are similar to the statistic that you're looking at. And on top of that, it will give you, if it's part of a dossier, which is basically a very extensive report with a lot of graphs, a lot of information, you can click on here for workplace learning and development. And this is that 65-page report that you can download either as a PDF or as a PowerPoint, and just flip through those pages. And it gives you, this is what's great about this. It'll give you the table of contents of this report. So you can browse the report first to see what's in here. But if you see something, very specific in this report, you can just search on that report in the search bar and just get the chart. You can go directly to the chart from there.
Sal,
So,
I want
yes.
to make sure everybody noticed that if they were to purchase that report on their own, it was $495.
It was $495, and you're getting that for free with your Miller membership.
I think it's just a really great example and of the value of the databases that we have, and that it's not just a Google search.
Exactly.
And Statista's so great because they are showing you where they got their information and who did it, what day they posted it. So that one that you just showed us was May 4th, 2020. So you're getting really up-to-date information. If you wanted to go right to the source, you can. And I think that's one thing, aside from that it just looks pretty, I think that's one thing that I love about Statista is they're so transparent about where they got their information. And they encourage you to use their information. So they make it so easy for you to post, and they include all the sources on the the PowerPoint slide or the PDF. So
exactly. Yeah,
wonderful.
They definitely,
I love it.
Yes. And yeah, you definitely want to, give them the hat tip. Make sure you cite the data, especially if you're sending your business plan. If you've included Statista data or a Statista chart, make sure that you cite them, that's where you got the data from. They are a prestigious company. They've been around for a little bit, and you want to make sure that whoever you're presenting this data to knows where it came from, and you want to give them credit for all the great work that they do. So I just, while you were talking, Elizabeth, I just right from the homepage here, and again, you could just start typing here like we did before, or they have like these highlight reports that are happening right now, just to show you what different data there is. Like leading retail websites worldwide 2020 by traffic. I think we could all probably guess who number one is. It's Amazon. And you kind of get the idea here, what it looks like, get all those different things. And like I had said before, besides downloading these in different formats, there are infographics as well on here. So if you're doing if you have a website, or a blog and you want to post an infographic, they have those, that format as well, the infographic format. And I got to say, I would probably say 9 times out of 10, if you see an infographic on a website, you're probably getting it. They're probably getting it from Statista. This is a huge company. So again, I just clicked on infographics here just to show you like what some of those infographics look like. And if we want to, we'll click on this one. This is from today while we're recording this. Can falling battery prices power EV breakthrough? You can see they give you the source. Of course, they're going to have their logo here. They have the citation type. So, legit, you want to make it legit. It explains that this is, Creative Commons, so you could use it with attribution. And you can download this chart and post it on your website or on your blog post. And they even give you the HTML code to make it really easy for you if you're a web designer, or if you want to just insert HTML, if you're using WordPress or something like that. And again, everything has some sort of narrative attached to it. Look, there are websites out there that are free that provide this type of information. It's not that they're not legit. They're just not going to be it's not going to provide you as a robust background to the data as Statista does. So these are, you can see here, this guy's a data journalist. That's what he does all day long. So yeah, so this is Statista. We'll just look at one more just as we're wrapping up here. Let's take a look at the food industry. We've been talking about food a lot. When you click on these highlight ones on the homepage, you get a nice little introduction and summary. And again, they're all going to have some sort of dossiers here attached to them. And then you'll get some interesting charts here, like U.S. supermarket and other grocery sales, 92 to 19. You could see here, graph is coming up. And you can see where this data comes from. It comes from the U.S. Census Bureau. Now, we saw census data on Demographics Now, and I didn't mention this before. You can most certainly go to the census website, the U.S. Census website, census.gov. You can, you can come here and, and go to the census and download data from the census website. It's going to be rough, I'll tell you. Look, we love the census. We love all that data, but it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming when you get to that website. Let me tell you, they've come leaps and bounds in taking their data and making it much easier to access, much more visual. Absolutely, positively. We have seen a great improvement since I started using the U.S. Census data. I've been doing this for 13 years now. They really have made this much, much better to access the data. But Demographics Now and Statista is just, they're doing all that legwork for you. They're going into the census data, they're pulling all that data out, they're jazzing it up, they're putting it in a visualization, they're putting it in a chart, they're making it much easier for you to search based on specific criteria. It's going to be a little easier than the census website, which is free. And you're more than welcome to check that out someday and just go in there and look at their tables. And a lot of it is just table data. And it's, you got to drill down to get that data. It makes it just a little more difficult to access that information. Whereas, you come to Demographics Now, you come to Statista, everything's right up front. It's very consumer friendly, very user friendly, and you can access that data. So that is just that's just a quick overview of these two databases that provide you with excellent information, statistics and demographics for you to use to create a marketing plan or add to your business plan or come up with a strategy to reach out to potential customers. So with that, if there are any questions before we leave, we'll take a look.
There are no questions.
Fantastic. I'd like to thank you all for coming down today and taking a look at this program. If you want to see our other programs, if you're watching this on YouTube, just browse our channel. It's millerbusiness.tv. We have plenty other things here, and thank you so much for coming. And we'll see you on the next episode of Business Bites Online.